Welcome to MarkGuy, where we explore self-improvement, motivation, habits, mindset. In today's episode, we're discussing how to make any woman miss you badly, even if she's not interested. You know what no one tells you? The woman who swears she's done with you is checking your Instagram at 2 a.m., searching for evidence that you're falling apart without her. She needs you to be broken. Because if you're thriving, if you're genuinely okay, then maybe, just maybe she made a mistake. And that thought, that's the splinter in her mind she can't remove. Picture this. It's Tuesday night. She's in her apartment, scrolling through her phone with that glass of wine she promised herself she'd stop having on weeknights. The blue light illuminates her face as she types your name into the search bar. Not following you anymore, of course, but checking. Always checking. Your latest post, yoyest toast, shows you at that new restaurant downtown, laughing with people she doesn't recognize. No caption, no explanation, just you, living. Her thumb hovers over the screen, that familiar tightness in her chest. She screenshots it, tells herself it's to show her friends what an ass you've become. But really? She's collecting evidence of your life without her, torturing herself with proof that you didn't collapse when she walked away. This isn't about romance, it's about wiring. The human brain operates on what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. We remember incomplete tasks far more vividly than completed ones. When you don't chase her, when you don't beg, when you don't provide the dramatic finale she unconsciously scripted, you become an open loop in her psychological operating system. Her mind literally cannot close the file on you. Think about it like leaving a browser tab open. It sits there, consuming mental RAM, demanding periodic attention even when she's trying to focus on something else. Phase 1 begins the moment you don't react the way she expects. She texts you that it's over, maybe throws in some harsh words to make it stick. In her mind, you're supposed to panic, fight for her, send those long paragraphs explaining how you'll change. Instead, you respond with 2 words. I understand, that's it. No emotion, no desperation, just acknowledgement. What happens in her brain at this moment is fascinating. Cognitive dissonance kicks in immediately. The narrative she built to justify leaving you, that you're needy, that you're weak, that you can't live without her, just shattered against the reality of your composure. Now she has to rebuild her entire justification framework, and guess what? That takes mental energy. That takes time. That takes thinking about you. Phase 2 is where the real psychological warfare begins, though you're not even fighting. You're just living. See, women, like all humans, operate on what behavioral psychologists call intermittent reinforcement schedules. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. When rewards are unpredictable, the brain becomes hypervigilant, constantly scanning for patterns. By being inconsistently visible in her peripheral awareness, a mutual friend mentions seeing you. Your car passes by her usual coffee shop. Someone tags you in a photo. You become the human equivalent of a slot machine. She never knows when you'll appear in her awareness, so her brain stays primed, always ready, always watching. Is he thinking about me? Why hasn't he reached out? Who is he with now? But here's where it gets darker. The absence of your attention doesn't just make her curious. It fundamentally rewrites her self-concept. Women often derive validation from male attention, especially from men they've been intimate with. When you withdraw that attention completely, not in anger but in genuine indifference, you create what I call a validation vacuum. She starts questioning her own worth. Was I not enough to fight for? Did I mean so little that he can just move on? This isn't cruel. It's simply the natural consequence of her expecting your world to stop when she decided to leave. Your continued rotation proves the sun doesn't revolve around her, and that revelation is both humbling and magnetically attractive. Phase 3 is where biology takes over. The human brain releases the same chemicals during withdrawal from a person as it does during drug withdrawal. Literally, the same neurochemical cascade. Dopamine drops, cortisol spikes, and the anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain that processes both physical and emotional pain, lights up like a Christmas tree. But here's the twist. You're not experiencing this because you've already begun the detachment process. You've started hitting the gym, maybe picked up that hobby you always talked about. Started reading those books, gathering dust on your shelf. Your dopamine is coming from new sources. Meanwhile, she's stuck in withdrawal. And the only fix her brain knows is you. Except you're not available. You're not the dealer anymore. You've become the drug she can't have. Let me paint you a scene that's playing out in thousands of apartments right now. It's 1 a.m. on a Friday. She's out with her girls, posted all the right photos, got all the right comments. You look amazing. His loss? Living your best life, but now she's home, makeup still on, dress thrown on the chair, lying in bed with her phone. She opens your chat thread, the one she swore she'd delete, scrolls up to the good times, screenshots of funny conversations you had, that video you sent of her dog doing something stupid. She starts typing, "Hey, how have you been?" Deletes it. Types again. "I saw you at..." Deletes it. Types one more time. "I miss..." Deletes it. Puts the phone down. Picks it back up. This cycle repeats until she either sends something she'll regret or falls asleep, clutching the phone. Either way, you win, because you're not doing anything except living your life. The psychological principle at play here is called reactance theory. When people feel their freedom is threatened, including the freedom to have access to you, they experience an intense motivation to restore that freedom. By making yourself scarce, by not being available at her convenience, you trigger this deep psychological need. She doesn't actually want you back, not really. She wants the option to have you back. She wants to know she could if she wanted to. And that uncertainty, that loss of control, that's what makes her miss you badly. Here's what really breaks them, though. Authentic indifference. Not the performed kind where you're obviously trying to look like you don't care. I'm talking about genuine, bone-deep acceptance that it's over and you're okay with it. Women have an almost supernatural ability to detect fake indifference. They can smell it like sharks smell blood in the water. But real indifference? That's terrifying to them because it means they miscalculated. It means they weren't as important as they thought. It means maybe, just maybe, they were the one who got lucky, not you. Think about this for a second. Why do you think she keeps checking your social media? It's not just curiosity. She's looking for evidence that you're performing indifference. That gym selfie? She's analyzing it. That photo with a female friend? She's zooming in, checking body language, looking for signs. She needs to believe you're faking it because if you're not, if you're genuinely thriving, then her entire exit narrative collapses. She didn't leave a broken man who needed her. She left a complete man who wanted her. There's a massive psychological difference, and it haunts her. This is where the Phantom X syndrome kicks in. She starts remembering only the good times, conveniently forgetting why she left. The brain has this fascinating tendency called rosy retrospection. We remember past events more positively than we experience them. Combined with your absence, her mind starts rewriting history. That annoying thing you did? Suddenly endearing. That fight you had? Passionate, not toxic. Your flaws become quirks. Your mistakes become lessons learned. She's not missing the real you. She's missing an idealized version her brain is constructing to fill the void. But wait, here's where most men screw it up. They see the signs. The accidental text at 11 p.m. The friend request from her fake account. Her best friend suddenly asking how you're doing. And they think, it's working. Time to make my move. Wrong, dead wrong. The moment you acknowledge her attempts, the moment you show availability, the spell breaks. The slot machine pays out. The intermittent reinforcement schedule is satisfied, and her brain can finally close that open loop. You go from being the mystery she can't solve to the problem she already fixed. Is that what you want? To be a solved equation? The truth is, making her miss you isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about becoming the kind of man who is genuinely missable. When you focus on your purpose, your growth, your goals, when you become genuinely invested in your own life, you naturally become scarce. You're not available for 2 a.m. I miss you texts because you're asleep, resting for tomorrow's 6 a.m. workout. You're not stalking her social media because you're building your business, learning new skills, creating value in the world. Your absence isn't strategic. It's a natural consequence of having shit to do. And that's when reality hits. She starts seeing your growth through mutual friends, through social media, through the grapevine. You're not the same man she left. You're better, stronger, more focused. And that evolution, that transformation she's not part of, that's what really makes her miss you. Because now she's not just missing who you were, she's missing who you're becoming. She's missing the future she opted out of. Do you understand the psychological weight of that? It's not just FOMO, fear of missing out. It's the crushing realization that she bet against you and lost. Here's something they never tell you about female psychology. Women are attracted to potential energy, not kinetic energy. They want to be part of the journey, not just arrive at the destination. When she sees you transforming without her, achieving without her, succeeding without her, it triggers something primal. She thought she was the catalyst for your growth. She thought you needed her to become better. But you didn't. You needed her to leave. And that truth? That's what keeps her up at night. The midnight hours are when it really hits them. That's when the defenses are down, when the wine has worn off, when the validation from other men feels hollow. She's lying there, and her mind drifts to you. Not because she loves you, love is too simple an explanation. She misses you because you represent unfinished business. You're the book she put down mid-chapter and her brain desperately wants to know how it ends. Does he find someone better? Is he happier without me? Was I the villain in his story? Let's talk about the social media psychology for a moment. Every post you make without mentioning her, without reference to the breakup, without any indication that your life was disrupted, it's a dagger. Not because you're trying to hurt her, but because your continuity invalidates her importance. She expected your feed to go dark, or worse, to become a shrine to your pain. Instead, it's business as usual. New experiences, new people, new energy. Your life didn't pause for grief. It accelerated toward growth. And she has to watch it unfold from the outside, like pressing her face against the glass of a life she chose to leave. The checking through friends phase is particularly interesting from a psychological standpoint. She'll casually ask mutual friends about you, pretending it's just polite conversation. Oh, how's he doing? But she's mining for information. Are you dating? Are you struggling? Are you mentioning her? The friends become unwitting spies in her intelligence operation. And when they report back that you seem good, great even, that you haven't asked about her once, that's when the doubt really sets in. Maybe I misread him. Maybe he wasn't as invested as I thought. Maybe I was the one who cared more. This creates what I call the reverse projection phenomenon. She starts projecting onto you all the qualities she wishes she had: emotional strength, independence, the ability to move on. You become a mirror reflecting her own insecurities. Your silence becomes strength. Your absence becomes presence. Your indifference becomes confidence. She's not really missing you anymore. She's missing the version of herself she thought she was when she was with you, the one who could walk away from anyone, the one who had options, the one who was the prize. But here's the really fucked up part. Even if she's with someone new, you're still there. She's comparing him to you, not the real you, but the idealized version her brain has constructed in your absence. Every time he does something wrong, she thinks about how you would have handled it. Every time he fails to understand her, she remembers how you knew her tells. The new guy isn't competing with who you were. He's competing with who she's imagined you've become. And that's a battle he can't win, because imagination always beats reality when it comes to desire. The 3-month mark is usually when the dam breaks. That's enough time for the anger to fade, for the rationalization to weaken, for the reality to set in. She's scrolling through her phone, deleting old photos to make space, and she finds that video of you two. Maybe it's from that trip you took, or just a random Tuesday when everything felt perfect. She watches it once, then again, then again. And suddenly, she's sobbing. Not because she misses the relationship, but because she misses the possibility of what could have been if she hadn't walked away. The future she killed is haunting her present. This is when the indirect contact attempts begin. She'll like an old photo of yours from 2 years ago, accidentally. Of course. She'll show up at places she knows you frequent, always with plausible deniability. She'll suddenly need to return that hoodie she's been sleeping in for months. These aren't real attempts at reconciliation. They're psychological probes, testing to see if the door is still open, if you still care, if she still has power. Your job? Don't even notice. Let these attempts fall into the void of your indifference. The lack of response is more powerful than any response could be. And then comes the final phase. Acceptance mixed with permanent wondering. She eventually moves on, or at least appears to. Gets into new relationships, maybe even gets married. But you remain the ghost in her psychological machine. 20 years from now, she'll be lying next to her husband and randomly think about you. Wonder what you're doing. Google your name. Check if you're on LinkedIn. You've become her what if, the path not taken, the door she closed but never locked. And that wondering, that permanent question mark, that's the real victory. Not because you've won her back, but because you've transcended the need to. Here's where it hurts. She'll never admit any of this. Not to you, not to her friends, maybe not even to herself. She'll maintain the narrative that leaving you was the best decision she ever made. She'll tell people you were toxic, that you were holding her back, that she's so much happier now. But at 3 a.m., when the world is quiet and she can't lie to herself anymore, she knows the truth. She knows she left something real for something theoretical. She knows she bet against you and lost. She knows that you're the one who got away, even though she was the one who left. The cruelest irony? If you actually understood and implemented everything I've just told you, you wouldn't need to make her miss you, because you'd be so focused on your own growth, so invested in your own journey, that her absence or presence would become irrelevant. The ultimate power isn't making someone miss you. It's reaching a point where you genuinely don't care if they do. That's not coldness. That's evolution. That's not revenge. That's transcendence. But let's be real for a moment. You're not listening to this because you want philosophical enlightenment. You're here because it hurts, because she left and took a piece of you with her, because you lie awake replaying conversations, wondering what you could have said differently, because you want her to feel what you're feeling, that ache, that void, that sense of incompleteness. And you know what? That's human. That's natural. That's the starting point, not the destination. The transformation happens when you channel that pain into purpose. When you stop asking, how can I make her miss me? And start asking, how can I become someone worth missing? The first question makes her the focus. The second makes you the focus. And that shift in focus, that redirection of energy, that's where the real magic happens. Because a man who's focused on his own growth becomes naturally attractive. A man who's building his empire doesn't have time for midnight texts. A man who's pursuing his purpose doesn't need validation from someone who chose to leave. So here's your prescription. And it's simpler than you think. Live. Actually live. Not perform living for her benefit, but genuinely engage with your life. Hit the gym not to post photos she'll see, but because you want to be strong. Read books not to seem intellectual, but because you want to grow. Build your business not to prove her wrong, but because you have value to create. Travel not to make her jealous, but because the world is vast and you're curious. The paradox is beautiful. The less you try to make her miss you, the more missable you become. And when she does reach out, and statistics show that 90% of exes make some form of contact within the first year, you'll be in a position of genuine choice, not desperate need. You can engage if it serves you, or you can continue on your path undisturbed. That's real power. Not the ability to make someone miss you, but the ability to be genuinely okay, whether they do or don't. The truth is, she's already missing you. Maybe not consciously, maybe not admittedly, but somewhere in her psychological substrate, you exist. You're the road not taken, the investment she cashed out early, the story she ended mid-chapter. Your absence is present in every comparison she makes, every standard she sets, every moment of doubt about her decision. You don't need to do anything to make her miss you. You just need to become the best version of yourself, and let her live with the consequences of her choice. Because here's the ultimate truth that nobody wants to admit. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And the moment you achieve genuine indifference towards someone who left you, you become unforgettable.